The stars looked different from this angle. Lieutenant Zachary Miller checked his navigation display for the third time. Something wasn't right. His small scout vessel, the ESF Venture, should be well within charted space. But the star patterns outside his viewport didn't match his charts. "Control, this is Venture. I'm experiencing some navigational discrepancies. Request confirmation of my position," Zachary said into his comm. Only static answered him. He was too far out. The routine patrol mission had somehow gone wrong, though his instruments showed everything working correctly. The new quantum displacement drive was still in the testing phase, but it had performed flawlessly in previous runs. Zachary ran another system check when his sensors suddenly blared to life. 3 large vessels had appeared from nowhere, moving toward him at incredible speed. Their design was unlike anything in Earth's database. Massive angular structures with glowing purple energy signatures. Unknown vessels. "This is Lieutenant Zachary Miller of the Earth Space Force. I am on a peaceful mission and may have strayed into your territory by mistake. Please respond." The response came in the form of an energy pulse that disabled his engines. The Venture drifted helplessly as the largest vessel positioned itself above him, its hull stretching seemingly endlessly overhead. A blue light enveloped his ship, and Zachary felt the familiar tug of a tractor beam. "Control, if you're receiving this, I am being captured by unknown forces. Activating emergency protocols and data purge," he said, quickly tapping commands into his console. Inside the massive vessel, Admiral Kalatnar watched as the tiny human ship was pulled into their docking bay. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of agitation among his species. "What do we know of this vessel?" he asked his second-in-command. "Nothing, Admiral. It appeared suddenly on our scanners. No warp signature, no jump disturbance, no fold space ripple. It simply appeared." Kalatnar's outer eyes narrowed. "That's impossible. Every form of faster-than-light travel leaves a signature." "This one didn't, sir." The Admiral turned to face the viewport. "The High Chancellor must be informed immediately. If this is a new species with technology we don't understand, the Empire needs to know." In the docking bay, Imperial soldiers surrounded Zachary's ship, weapons ready. When the hatch finally opened, they were surprised to see a single human male step out with his hands raised. "I come in peace," Zachary said calmly, though his heart raced. The aliens before him were bipedal but clearly not human. Their blue-gray skin and 4 eyes marked them as something entirely different from Earth's known alien contacts. One soldier stepped forward and spoke into a small device. The device glowed briefly before producing sounds that Zachary could understand. "You are trespassing in Imperial space. Identify yourself and your vessel." "I am Lieutenant Zachary Miller of the Earth Space Force. My vessel is the ESF Venture, a scout ship. I apologize for the intrusion. I believe my navigation system malfunctioned." The soldiers looked at each other, then back at him. "Earth? This planet is not in our database. Earth is about 20 light-years from here, in the direction of—" Zachary pointed, then realized his gesture might mean nothing to these aliens. The lead soldier gestured for others to secure the human. "You will be taken to processing. Your vessel will be examined." 2 days later, in the Imperial Science Academy on the Capital World, Dr. Lisa Blackwood frowned at the readings before her. As the Empire's leading xenotechnologist, she had been immediately assigned to study the human vessel. What she found defied explanation. "The power source is unlike anything we've seen," she told her colleague Alan Peterson. "It doesn't use antimatter, fusion, or quantum vacuum energy." Peterson, a human who had defected to the Empire years ago, looked concerned. "That's not possible. Those are the only viable energy sources for space travel." "Tell that to the ship," Lisa replied. "And the propulsion system. There's no conventional drive at all. It seems to fold space around itself without creating the usual subspace distortions." "Humans don't have this technology," Peterson insisted. "When I left Earth 15 years ago, they were still using basic ion drives for local travel and experimenting with warp bubbles. This is centuries beyond that." Lisa called up a holographic display of the vessel's internal structure. "The materials are also unknown to us. They appear to be some form of biomimetic alloy that can self-repair. Our scans show it adjusting its molecular structure in real time. In the Imperial Palace, High Chancellor Vex Darien received the preliminary report with growing concern. His thin fingers tapped nervously on his ornate desk as Admiral Kalitnar finished his briefing. "So you're telling me that a species we've never encountered before possesses technology that surpasses our own?" the Chancellor asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "Yes, Chancellor. The human vessel's capabilities suggest technological advancement beyond anything the Empire has achieved in our 5,000 years of space travel." The Chancellor stood and walked to the window overlooking the capital city. The Empire had ruled over 300 star systems for millennia, bringing countless species under its control. Their technological superiority had never been questioned. And where is this Earth? Our astronomers have identified it based on the human's description. It's in a sector we've long considered primitive and not worth exploring. A small solar system with only 8 planets. The Chancellor turned sharply. And we know nothing else about their capabilities, their military strength, their intentions. The captured human claims to be on a simple patrol mission. He insists his presence in our space was an accident. No species accidentally develops technology that can evade our most advanced sensors, Admiral. The Chancellor's voice hardened. "I want 3 battle fleets dispatched to this Earth immediately. Establish a blockade. No vessels in or out until we understand what we're dealing with." Admiral Kalitnar bowed. "It will be done, Chancellor." In his holding cell, Zachary sat quietly, trying to piece together what had happened. The Imperial officers who interrogated him seemed fixated on his ship's technology. Their questions revealed their confusion and, increasingly, their fear. "Your vessel's capabilities surpass our understanding," one officer had told him. "How did humans develop such technology in secret?" Zachary couldn't answer. The venture was advanced, but from the aliens' reactions they believed it to be far more powerful than it actually was. Something about the quantum displacement drive had triggered their alarm bells. Little did he know that across the Empire, emergency councils were being convened. Military forces were mobilizing, all because of one simple truth that terrified the Imperial leadership to their core. Humans had vessels that operated on principles they couldn't understand, and technology they couldn't counter. The Empire that had known only dominance for thousands of years was now faced with the unknown. And in their panic, they were preparing for war against an enemy they didn't understand. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the command center of the Space Force had lost contact with Lieutenant Miller. Admiral Carol Martinez looked at the empty spot on the tracking display where the venture should be. "Find him," she ordered, "whatever it takes." Admiral Carol Martinez stared at the empty space on the holographic map, where Lieutenant Miller's signal had disappeared. The mood in Earth Space Command's Central Operations Room was tense. Officers worked quickly at their stations, trying to find any trace of the missing pilot and his vessel. 36 hours with no contact, Commander John Reeves said, standing beside her. The venture's quantum displacement drive was still experimental, but all tests showed it was stable. "Could it have malfunctioned?" Carol asked. "Possibly, but we should still detect the emergency beacon. Something or someone is blocking it." The Admiral nodded slowly. "Or they're in a place our signals can't reach." A young officer approached with a datapad. "Admiral, we've analyzed the last known trajectory of the venture. Lieutenant Miller may have inadvertently traveled beyond our mapped space." Carol took the pad and studied it carefully. "Into whose territory?" "Unknown, ma'am. That region hasn't been fully explored." Commander Reeves leaned closer to look at the data. "We should send a search team." "Agreed," Carol said, "but this will require diplomacy as well as military presence. If Zachary crossed into someone else's space, we need to be prepared for first contact protocols." Within hours, a meeting was called with Earth's leadership. Representatives from all global powers gathered virtually as Admiral Martinez explained the situation. Dr. Samantha Hayes, Earth's leading xenobiologist, joined the discussion from her research station on Europa. "If Lieutenant Miller has encountered a previously unknown species, We need to approach this carefully, Samantha said. I volunteer to join any mission sent to recover him. The president of the United Earth Coalition nodded. Approved. We'll send our newest diplomatic vessel, the ESF Horizon. It has stealth capabilities and enough firepower to defend itself if necessary. How much of our technology should we reveal? Asked the defense secretary. A heavy silence filled the virtual room. Earth had kept its most advanced technology secret from other species they had encountered so far. Most alien civilizations still thought humans relied on simple warp drives, when in fact they had moved far beyond such primitive technology. Enough to show we're not to be trifled with, the president finally said, but not enough to reveal our full capabilities. At that moment, across the galaxy, Imperial scientists continued to study the captured human vessel with growing concern. Alan Peterson hovered over a console, his hand shaking slightly as he analyzed the results. It's not possible, he muttered. Dr. Lisa Blackwood looked up from her own work. What have you found? The ship's computer. I managed to bypass some of its security protocols, but the processing power, it's beyond anything I've seen before. And the quantum entanglement communication system would allow instantaneous communication across the galaxy. Lisa's four eyes widened. The Empire has been trying to develop that technology for centuries. Earth shouldn't have this, Alan said, his voice barely above a whisper. When I left, they were still using basic quantum computing. He gestured helplessly. This would take hundreds of years to develop from where they were. In his holding cell, Zachary sat cross-legged on the floor. He had been treated well enough, given food that his system could tolerate and allowed basic exercise. But the questions from his interrogators grew increasingly specific about Earth's technology and military capabilities. A door slid open, and a tall Imperial officer entered. Unlike the others, this one wore an elaborate uniform with multiple insignias. I am Admiral Kalitnar, he introduced himself through his translation device. I apologize for your continued detention, Lieutenant Miller. Zachary stood. Then perhaps you could arrange for my release. That is not possible at present. Your presence in our space has raised concerns. I've told your people repeatedly that I'm just a scout pilot. My being here was an accident. The Admiral's outer eyes narrowed. An accident that required technology we cannot explain. Your vessel appears and disappears from sensors at will. It uses no detectable form of propulsion that we understand, and its hull is made of materials unknown to our science. Zachary frowned. The quantum displacement drive is new, yes, but you crossed 50 light-years in an instant, Lieutenant, without creating any subspace distortion. Do you know what that means to us? Zachary remained silent. It means that everything we thought we knew about physics might be wrong. It means that your species possesses knowledge that could threaten the stability of the entire Empire. The Admiral leaned closer. It means that your Earth is now considered a potential threat of the highest order. Back on Earth, preparations for the rescue mission moved quickly. Chief Engineer Kevin Turner supervised the final checks on the ESF Horizon. The sleek vessel represented the perfect balance of Earth's revealed and unrevealed technologies. The stealth systems are fully operational, Kevin told Commander Reeves as they walked through the ship. We can mask our energy signature to appear as nothing more than background radiation. And weapons? Standard plasma cannons as far as anyone can tell. The phase shifters are hidden within the secondary hull plating. They'll never know they're there unless we use them. John nodded. Good. We want to look capable but not threatening. Dr. Samantha Hayes joined them, carrying her research equipment. My team is ready. If these aliens have biology similar to other species we've encountered, our universal translators should work well enough for basic communication. 3 days. Later, the ESF Horizon and 2 escort vessels departed Earth space, heading toward Lieutenant Miller's last known coordinates. What they didn't know was that they were already being watched. At the edge of human space, Imperial probe ships had established a perimeter. They detected the approaching Earth vessels immediately. 3 ships on approach, an Imperial officer, reported to Admiral Kalitnar via faster-than-light communication. Their warp signatures are unusual, sir. They appear to be using conventional drives, but there are energy fluctuations we can't explain. Kalatnar frowned. Monitor them closely. If they attempt to pass our blockade, do not engage. Report immediately. The Admiral turned to face the High Chancellor, who had joined him on the flagship of the Imperial blockade fleet. They're coming for their pilot, Kalatnar said. Chancellor Vexdarian's face remained impassive. As expected, this will give us our first real look at human military capabilities. And if they prove as advanced as we fear, the Chancellor's eyes hardened, then we must strike first before they can bring their full might against us. Aboard the Horizon, Commander Reeves studied the sensor readings with concern. We've got multiple vessels ahead. Large ones. They've formed a blockade. Have they detected us? Kevin asked. Yes, but they're only tracking our conventional drive signatures. They haven't spotted our true propulsion system. Dr. Hayes looked at the alien ship configurations. Those designs match nothing in our database. This is a previously unknown species. John made his decision. We'll proceed as planned. Standard approach, open communications, request the return of our pilot and vessel. He turned to the communications officer. Send in the clear all frequencies. This is Commander John Reeves of the Earth Space Force vessel Horizon. We come in peace, seeking the return of our missing pilot. As the message was transmitted, the human vessels continued forward. Behind them, undetected by Imperial sensors, 3 more Earth ships emerged from quantum displacement, their advanced technology completely invisible to the Empire's best detection systems. The rescue mission had begun, but neither side fully understood the capabilities or intentions of the other. Officer Patricia Roberts moved quietly through the busy spaceport on Proxima Colony, Earth's farthest outpost. She wore simple trader clothes, nothing that would mark her as Earth intelligence. Her trained eyes scanned the crowds, noting the various alien species mingling with humans. Among them were several blue-skinned, four-eyed individuals who didn't appear in any Earth database. Patricia tapped her earpiece discreetly. I've spotted 3 more of our mystery visitors. They're trying to blend in, but they don't understand human clothing styles. Back at the colony's security center, Daniel Warren monitored the feeds from Patricia's hidden camera. That makes 8 total. They're definitely gathering intelligence. Keep your distance, but try to get audio if you can. Patricia wandered to a food stall near where 2 of the aliens stood pretending to examine merchandise. She ordered a drink and leaned against the counter, activating the enhanced listening device in her pendant. Primitive compared to what we expected, one alien was saying in his own language. The words automatically translated through Patricia's earpiece. Their visible technology doesn't match what we saw on the captured vessel. The High Chancellor believes they're hiding their true capabilities, the other replied. We need to access their data networks. Patricia sipped her drink casually. These aliens were clearly military intelligence officers, not common spies. This was a coordinated operation. On the other side of the colony, Daniel had changed into maintenance coveralls and was working his way into the central communications hub. If the aliens were trying to hack Earth systems, he needed to know how and what they were looking for. Meanwhile, at the Imperial blockade, Commander John Reeves faced a screen showing Admiral Kalatnar. We have no hostile intentions, John explained. We simply want our pilot returned safely. The Admiral's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Your pilot trespassed in Imperial space using technology that violates our security protocols. This requires investigation. Lieutenant Miller's presence in your territory was accidental. His navigation system malfunctioned. A convenient explanation, Admiral Kalatnar replied coldly. Yet your approach to our blockade shows remarkable precision. 3 small vessels against our fleet suggests either extreme foolishness or hidden capabilities. Dr. Samantha Hayes stepped forward. Admiral, I'm Dr. Hayes, Earth's xenobiologist. Perhaps we could meet in person to discuss cultural exchange while our military representatives handle the details of Lieutenant Miller's return. The Admiral seemed surprised by this suggestion. You wish to board an Imperial vessel? In the spirit of peaceful relations, yes. We know nothing about your species or culture. This unfortunate incident could become an opportunity for mutual understanding. After a long pause, the Admiral nodded. Very well. You and one aide may board my vessel for preliminary discussions. When the transmission ended, Commander Reeves turned to Samantha. That's a risk. We don't know their intentions. Sometimes, the best intelligence gathering requires personal contact, she replied. Besides, I genuinely want to understand them. Their reaction to our technology suggests a society built around technological superiority. Meeting beings who challenge that would naturally create anxiety. Hours later, Samantha and Kevin Turner boarded a shuttle to the Imperial flagship. As they approached the massive vessel, Kevin whispered, "Their power systems are inefficient. They're burning through fuel reserves at a rate that suggests their engines are centuries behind ours." "Remember," Samantha cautioned, "we're here to build bridges, not assess weaknesses." The Imperial ship's docking bay was enormous, filled with smaller craft and busy with personnel. Samantha noted the rigid hierarchy evident in the crew's movements and interactions. Everyone deferred to those with more elaborate uniform markings. Admiral Kalitnar greeted them personally, along with several guards and a human man Samantha didn't recognize. "This is Alan Peterson," the Admiral introduced him. "He has been with the Empire for 15 years and serves as our human cultural liaison." Samantha and Kevin exchanged surprised glances. Earth had never known about humans living among this empire. "A pleasure to meet fellow humans," Alan said, his accent strange and his manner formal. "I've been helping the Empire understand your species." "And have you told them we have no quarrel with their civilization?" Kevin asked. Alan's expression remained neutral. "I've explained what I knew of Earth when I left. Your recent advancements were unexpected." Meanwhile, back at Proxima Colony, Patricia had followed one of the alien spies to an abandoned storage facility. She watched from hiding as the spy set up some kind of device that began scanning local networks. "I've got eyes on tech we've never seen before," she reported quietly. "They're deep scanning our civilian networks." "Can you get closer?" Daniel asked through her earpiece. "Negative. Too exposed. Hold position. I'm sending backup." But before help could arrive, alarms blared throughout the colony. Emergency lights flashed and a computerized voice announced, "Unidentified vessels approaching. All citizens proceed to shelter areas." In orbit above the colony, 3 Imperial warships had suddenly appeared. Without warning, they opened fire on the colony's small defense platforms. The alien spy Patricia was watching quickly packed up his equipment and activated a communication device. "Extraction required. The attack wasn't supposed to happen until—" His words were cut short as Daniel Warren stepped from the shadows and stunned him with a precision shot. "Package secured," Daniel reported, quickly restraining the unconscious. "Spy. But we've got bigger problems. They're attacking the colony." The attack didn't last long. The colony's automated defense systems, far more advanced than anything the Empire had anticipated, immediately activated. Energy shields absorbed the initial barrage, and hidden weapons platforms emerged from concealed silos. Within minutes, 2 of the Imperial warships were disabled, and the third retreated into faster-than-light travel. At the Imperial blockade, alarms sounded on the flagship bridge as reports of the failed attack came in. Admiral Kalitnar received the news with visible shock while meeting with the human representatives. "You ordered an attack on our colony?" Samantha asked, her voice cold. "Not I," the Admiral replied, clearly disturbed. "The military council must have acted independently. This was not authorized." Kevin's expression had hardened. "Your ships fired on civilians, and were defeated by automated defenses," the Admiral noted. "Defenses that should not exist on a frontier colony, according to your official technological development timeline." Back on Earth, Admiral Carol Martinez received the report of the attack with grim determination. "They've shown their intentions. Prepare the Ascendancy for deployment." Her second-in-command looked concerned. "The Ascendancy? That's our most advanced vessel. If they see it, they need to see it," Carol interrupted. "This Empire attacked our people based on fear and misunderstanding. They need to understand exactly who they're dealing with." On Proxima Colony, Patricia and Daniel had secured their Imperial prisoner. Colonel Zexavir, as they learned, was a high-ranking intelligence officer. Under questioning, he revealed the Empire's growing panic about human technology. "Your vessels defy our understanding of physics," he explained. "Your Lieutenant Miller's ship appeared from nowhere, used no detectable energy, and contained materials we cannot identify. The High Chancellor believes you are preparing to expand into our territory." "With 3 ships?" Daniel asked incredulously. "Not those ships," the colonel replied. "The ones you're hiding. The ones that can appear anywhere, anytime, without warning. The vessels that, according to our intelligence, could render our entire defense network obsolete." Patricia and Daniel exchanged glances, suddenly understanding the magnitude of the misunderstanding. The Empire wasn't acting out of aggression, but fear of capabilities humans possessed but hadn't even flaunted. And now Earth was sending the Ascendancy, a vessel that would only confirm their worst fears. Captain Benjamin Foster stood on the bridge of the ESF Ascendancy, Earth's flagship and most advanced vessel. At over 2 kilometers long, the Ascendancy represented the pinnacle of human engineering. Its sleek, dark hull absorbed rather than reflected light, making it difficult to see even without its active camouflage systems. "All systems ready, Captain," his first officer reported. "Phase-shifting drive is operational. Quantum shields at full capacity." Benjamin nodded. "Set course for the Imperial blockade. Standard approach until we're within visual range, then activate stealth systems." The massive ship moved away from Earth's orbital shipyards. Unlike conventional vessels that pushed through space, the Ascendancy slipped between the layers of reality, simultaneously existing and not existing as it traveled. To observers, it seemed to flicker and distort, like a mirage on a hot day. At the Imperial blockade, Admiral Kalitnar was still dealing with the fallout from the unauthorized attack on Proxima Colony. The High Chancellor himself had arrived, on a fast transport, and was now pacing the command deck. "You allowed humans aboard our flagship," Chancellor Vexidarian said, his voice dangerously quiet. "A diplomatic necessity," the Admiral replied. "They came seeking their missing pilot." "And where are these diplomats now?" "Confined to guest quarters. Not prisoners, but not free to wander." The Chancellor stopped pacing. "And what have you learned from them?" Admiral Kalitnar hesitated. "They seem genuinely confused by our reaction to their technology. Dr. Hayes claims that quantum displacement drives are relatively new, but not considered extraordinary by their standards. Do you believe her?" "I'm not certain. Their chief engineer seemed more concerned with studying our systems than revealing their own. But there's something else." The Admiral activated a display showing the failed attack on Proxima Colony. "Their defensive capabilities far exceed what should be possible for a frontier outpost." The Chancellor watched the recording of Imperial warships being disabled by automated defenses. "These humans are playing a dangerous game. They show us only what they want us to see." An alarm interrupted their conversation. The tactical officer spoke urgently. "Chancellor Admiral, we're detecting an anomaly approaching from Earth space." "Define anomaly," the Admiral demanded. "Energy readings unlike anything we've recorded. It's massive, but our sensors can't lock onto it. It keeps shifting." On board the Ascendancy, Captain Foster gave the order. "Deactivate phase shifting. Let them see us clearly." The massive human vessel suddenly solidified in normal space, appearing seemingly from nowhere just beyond the Imperial blockade. Its size dwarfed most of the Imperial vessels, and its design was unlike anything the Empire had seen before. No visible engines, no external weapons ports, just smooth lines and surfaces that seemed to absorb light. On the Imperial flagship, there was stunned silence. Then Chancellor Vexdarian found his voice. "Is that one ship?" "Yes, Chancellor," the tactical officer replied, his voice shaking. "And our readings indicate it's powered down. That's its dormant state." In his holding cell on the Imperial flagship, Lieutenant Zachary Miller felt the shift in the ship's energy. The guards outside his door were speaking rapidly in their language, their tones urgent and afraid. He could make out only one repeated phrase that the translator rendered as, "the Great Void Ship." The door slid open, and Alan Peterson entered, looking pale. Your people sent the Ascendancy. Zachary frowned. The what? Earth's flagship. I've never seen it myself, but there are rumors. Alan shook his head. You really don't know, do you? The Empire thinks you're playing ignorant, but you genuinely don't understand what's happening. What am I missing? The Empire has based its dominance on technological superiority for 5,000 years. Your quantum displacement drive alone challenges everything they thought they knew about physics. And now this ship appears that can phase in and out of reality. They're terrified. On Proxima Colony, Patricia Roberts and Daniel Warren were debriefing their prisoner, Colonel Zexavir. Unlike earlier interrogations, the colonel now seemed almost eager to talk. Your flagship has arrived, he said. The vessel that can appear and disappear at will. Daniel gave Patricia a puzzled look. How would you know that? All Imperial officers of my rank have subcutaneous communicators. I've been receiving updates. The colonel leaned forward. Do you even understand what your leaders have done? By revealing the Ascendancy, they've confirmed the Empire's worst fears. Which are what exactly? Patricia asked. That you could strike anywhere, anytime without warning. That your technology has advanced beyond anything we can defend against. Zexavir's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. The military council will push for a full-scale preemptive strike now. Meanwhile, Dr. Samantha Hayes and Kevin Turner were being escorted back to the meeting room on the Imperial flagship. Through the viewports, they could see the Ascendancy in the distance. This complicates things, Kevin whispered. Samantha nodded. But maybe it's for the best. No more hiding or miscommunication. In the meeting room, they found Admiral Kellet Nar and Chancellor Vexidarian waiting. The Chancellor's demeanor was cold. Your true capabilities are finally revealed, he said without preamble. This vessel that defies our sensors and appears at will, is this the real face of humanity? Samantha chose her words carefully. The Ascendancy is our flagship, yes, but its presence here is defensive, not aggressive. After the attack on our colony, Earth felt a show of strength was necessary. A show of strength? The Chancellor's voice rose. That ship could bypass our entire defense network. It could appear in orbit above our homeworld without warning. But we haven't done that, Kevin interjected. We could have, but instead we came here openly to talk. Before the Chancellor could respond, a communication officer rushed in. Chancellor, the human vessel is hailing us. They're requesting to speak with you directly. The large screen in the meeting room activated, showing Captain Benjamin Foster on the bridge of the Ascendancy. Chancellor Vexidarian, I presume, Benjamin said formally. I am Captain Foster of the Earth Space Force. I believe you're holding some of my people. The Chancellor straightened his posture. Captain, your vessel's presence here is a violation of Imperial space and a clear act of intimidation. No more intimidating than your fleet blockading our territory, Benjamin replied calmly. But I'm not here to escalate tensions. I'm here to bring our people home and establish peaceful relations if possible. Peace? The Chancellor laughed bitterly. Your species has hidden its true nature from us. These vessels that defy our understanding of physics. How many more do you have? Captain Foster's expression remained neutral. Chancellor, I think there's been a fundamental misunderstanding. We haven't been hiding our technology. We simply develop along different paths than your civilization. On the screen behind the captain, Lieutenant Miller appeared, flanked by 2 Imperial guards. He had been brought to the command deck. Lieutenant Miller, Benjamin acknowledged him. Are you being treated well? Yes, Captain, Zachary replied. But there's something you should know. The Empire thinks we're much more advanced than we actually are. They believe our quantum displacement drive is some kind of superweapon. Chancellor Vexidarian pointed at the human pilot. Your scout vessel appeared inside our territory without any warp signature or subspace distortion. Now this behemoth appears from nowhere. What are we supposed to think? For the first time, Benjamin Foster seemed to understand the depth of the misunderstanding. Chancellor, perhaps it's time we explain exactly how our technology works and why it appears so mysterious to your sensors. He glanced at Samantha and Kevin on the Imperial ship. With your permission, I'll have our technical and scientific Teams prepare a full briefing. You'll find that many of the principles we use are ones your civilization simply took a different path from centuries ago. The Chancellor looked skeptical but nodded slowly. The first step toward understanding had been taken, but the tension in the room remained thick enough to cut with a knife. 3 days had passed since the Ascendancy's dramatic appearance. On the neutral space station Outpost 7, human and Imperial representatives gathered in a large conference room. Engineers and scientists from both sides had spent countless hours sharing information and explaining technologies. Kevin Turner stood before a holographic display showing the inner workings of the quantum displacement drive. Imperial scientists watched with fascination as he explained its principles. The key insight came from an overlooked theorem in quantum physics, Kevin said. Your civilization followed the path of subspace manipulation, which is perfectly valid. We instead explored quantum entanglement on a massive scale. Dr. Lisa Blackwood, the Imperial scientist, shook her head in amazement. We dismissed that approach centuries ago because the energy requirements seemed impossible. That was our hurdle too, Kevin admitted, until we discovered quantum crystalline matrices that could store and channel energy with near-perfect efficiency. Across the room, Dr. Samantha Hayes sat with Admiral Kalitnar, watching the technical exchange. Your people seem almost relieved, Samantha noted. The Admiral's outer eyes blinked slowly. There is comfort in understanding. We feared your technology because we couldn't comprehend it. Now we see that you simply took a different path from us. A path that was always available to you, Samantha pointed out. There's nothing inherently superior about our approach. It simply suits different priorities. Meanwhile, in another section of the station, Captain Benjamin Foster and Chancellor Vex Darien were engaged in more formal discussions. The treaty outline seems acceptable, the Chancellor said, reviewing the document before him. Trade routes established, technological exchange protocols defined, and mutual defense agreements in place. Benjamin nodded. And Lieutenant Miller? He will be released immediately, along with his vessel. Though I suspect, after all the attention it has received, he might not recognize it. Our scientists have been most thorough in their examinations. The door slid open and Lieutenant Zachary Miller entered, escorted by Imperial guards. He looked tired but unharmed. Lieutenant, Benjamin greeted him warmly. Ready to go home? More than ready, Captain, Zachary replied with a smile. Then he turned to the Chancellor. Though I must thank you for your hospitality, such as it was. The Chancellor's expression remained neutral. Your unexpected visit has changed the course of Imperial history, Lieutenant Miller. Whether for better or worse remains to be seen. Back on Proxima Colony, Patricia Roberts received the news of the treaty negotiations with mixed feelings. She and Daniel Warren sat in a quiet corner of the colony's central plaza, watching the busy crowd. They're withdrawing their spies, Daniel said, sipping his coffee. Our monitors show them boarding transport vessels bound for Imperial space. Patricia nodded. But they're leaving behind listening devices and dormant data collectors. They still don't fully trust us. Can you blame them? 3 weeks ago, they thought they were the dominant power in this sector of space. Now they've discovered a species with technology that makes some of theirs obsolete. A public view screen in the plaza suddenly activated, showing a joint broadcast from Earth and Imperial leadership. The treaty was being announced formally to citizens of both civilizations. As Patricia and Daniel watched, Colonel Zexvier approached their table. The Imperial officer had been released as part of the initial goodwill gestures, but had chosen to remain on the colony temporarily as a cultural observer. May I join you? He asked formally. Patricia gestured to an empty chair. How does it feel watching your empire make peace with the dreaded humans? Surprisingly reassuring, the colonel admitted, though not everyone back home shares my view. There are factions within the Imperial Military Council who see this treaty as weakness. Daniel leaned forward. Are they a threat to the peace process? They are being contained, Zexavier replied carefully. Your Officer Roberts and her team provided evidence that certain council members had ordered the attack on this colony without authorization. The Chancellor does not tolerate such insubordination. On the Imperial homeworld, in a secure chamber deep beneath the Imperial Palace, that very purge was underway. 3 generals stood before the High Council, stripped of their rank insignia. "You acted without authority," Chancellor Vexdarian said coldly. "You risked war with a civilization whose technological approach we did not understand, based on fear rather than facts." "The humans remain a threat," one general insisted. "Their vessels can appear anywhere in our territory without warning. The capability they have had for years yet never used against us," the Chancellor countered. "While you, in your wisdom, chose to attack their colony unprovoked. The disgraced generals were led away, their fate sealed." The Chancellor turned to his advisors. "The treaty will proceed. We have much to learn from these humans, and they from us." Back aboard the Ascendancy, Captain Foster received a transmission from Admiral Carol Martinez. "The treaty has been ratified by Earth leadership," she informed him. "You're cleared to begin the cultural exchange program. How are our Imperial guests settling in?" Benjamin glanced at a monitor showing Dr. Lisa Blackwood and Alan Peterson touring the ship's engineering section with Kevin Turner. "They're fascinated, particularly by our biomimetic materials. Apparently, the Empire went heavily into metallurgy while we focused on organic synthetic composites." "And our people on their vessels?" "Dr. Hayes reports their medical technology is actually superior to ours in several areas. Something about their 4-eyed physiology led them to develop advanced brain scanning techniques we never considered." The Admiral smiled. "So we each have something to offer. That bodes well for the future." "There is one concern," Benjamin added. "According to Lieutenant Miller, the Empire spans over 300 star systems. They've been the dominant power in their region for millennia. Some of their citizens and military won't easily accept us as equals. Then we'll have to proceed carefully," Carol replied. "Demonstrate strength without threatening, share knowledge without condescension." A week later, the ESF venture was officially returned to human custody. The small scout ship that had accidentally started this interstellar incident was escorted back to Earth by both human and Imperial vessels, a symbolic gesture of the new alliance. Lieutenant Zachary Miller stood on the observation deck of the Ascendancy, watching his old ship being towed home. "Hard to believe all this started because my navigation system glitched," he said to Dr. Hayes, who stood beside him. "Did it, though?" Samantha asked. Kevin analyzed the venture's logs. There was no malfunction. The quantum displacement drive worked exactly as designed. Zachary frowned. "Then how did I end up in Imperial space?" "Kevin thinks the drive responded to something we didn't know was there. A quantum resonance field the Empire uses for long-range communications. Your ship was essentially drawn to the nearest source like a moth to flame. So this meeting was inevitable." Samantha nodded. "Sooner or later, our technologies were bound to intersect. Better now, peacefully, than later in conflict." On the bridge, Captain Foster watched as the joint fleet approached Earth. Imperial vessels would be entering Earth's solar system for the first time in history, not as conquerors or invaders, but as allies. "Send to all ships," he ordered. "Welcome to Earth space." In his quarters on the Imperial flagship, Chancellor Vexdarian looked out at the blue planet growing larger in the viewport. For 5,000 years, the Empire had believed itself to be the pinnacle of civilization. Now they knew better. The universe was larger and more wondrous than they had imagined, filled with different paths of development and discovery. The humans didn't have vessels like anything in the Empire, and now the Empire would have vessels like nothing they had built before. Together, they would explore the stars with new eyes and new understanding.